After age 60, your blood slows down. You modify your tempo, but not physically. There is no more hurrying. The trial is over. All of a sudden, you find yourself at a crossroads that most people never discuss. Is there something more valuable lurking in the silence you've come to fear, or should you find someone to spend these years with? The majority of individuals will answer your question before you do. They will claim that you require company, that the saddest story they can think of is getting older alone. What if they're mistaken, though? Imagine spending years with someone who gradually dims your light, resting next to someone who doesn't comprehend you, or sitting across from someone who doesn't see you. What if the most lonely place you could ever be wasn't an empty house? Allow me to introduce you to Eleanor. She is 67 years old, lives in a tiny seaside town, and wakes up without an alarm or a set routine when sunlight enters her bedroom. She sits on her porch, watches the neighbors walk their dogs, and makes coffee the way she loves it, strong and dark. She paints some mornings. On other days, she snoozes in her chair with the book open on her breast after reading 3 chapters of a novel. "Mom, are you sure you're okay alone?" is the same question her daughter asks when she calls every Sunday, frightened. Eleanor's response is always the same. "Sweetheart, I'm not alone. I'm with myself, and we get along beautifully." We were taught a deception by society. For decades, it lingered in our ears that being unmarried after a certain age was a sign that something went wrong, that you're unfinished, or that you failed in some way. What no one talks about, though, is that partnerships are no longer about building after the age of 60. You're not bringing up kids. This isn't your first house purchase. You're not moving up the corporate ladder. Now, the projects are different. And sometimes, preserving the serenity you've worked so hard to achieve is the most significant endeavor. Consider it. Take a moment to reflect. How many persons are together but totally different from one another that you know? They sit at the same table, share a house, and divide expenses, but they haven't had a meaningful discussion in years. The loneliness that results from someone lying next to you is the cruelest type. Researchers studying aging and health have made an intriguing discovery. It's not always those in relationships that report the highest levels of life satisfaction after the age of 65. They are the ones who have learned to love their own company, feel in charge of their everyday life, and have autonomy. You've experienced heartbreak before. You've made a concession. To please someone, you've molded yourself into forms that weren't your own. When you wanted to yell, you remained silent. Even if your entire being was screaming no, you said yes. And now? Your body is telling you a different thing now. It's telling you to stop. Don't negotiate with your own peace anymore. No more sacrificing your freedom to make things seem normal. I'll give you an example. Consider a Sunday afternoon. Through your kitchen window, the light is golden. You're preparing a basic dinner, such as tea and toast or even soup. From a different room, you hear a gentle melody that takes you back to your childhood. Not because you have to, but because you can. You're going slowly. Nobody is judging your veggie chopping skills. Nobody is inquiring as to when dinner will be prepared. Right now, nobody needs anything from you. You are whole. Just you. The music, the light, and the straightforward process of carefully feeding yourself. Loneliness isn't that. Freedom is that. I'm not telling you to shut your heart, though. More importantly, I'm asking you not to open it out of fear. If you're afraid of what people may think, don't invite them in. Because you believe the myth that a person is lessened if they are alone, don't share your bed. You are complete. You've always been entire. Someone else doesn't make you whole. They either add to or take away from what you already have. The age of Robert is 72. Everyone advised him to start dating again after the death of his wife. "You're too young to give up on love," they remarked. He tried then. He began seeing Catherine on a daily basis after meeting her at a community center. Initially, having plans and someone to contact was pleasant. Slowly, though, something changed. Catherine was curious about his destination. His pals were disliked by her. She made brief remarks about his attire, interests, and daily routine. Robert felt stuck when he woke up one morning. Not precisely by Catherine, but by the notion that he required her to feel important. For the first week, he felt unsteady and uncertain. and he ended it softly. Then an extraordinary event occurred. He regained delight in the tiniest things, reading the newspaper without interruption, going to bed at whatever hour he pleased, visiting his grandchildren without having to arrange with someone else's schedule. He recently shared with me, "I thought I was running from loneliness, but I was actually running from myself. Now that I've stopped running, I'm finally home." After 60, things shift like this. You become completely intolerant of nonsense. You lack the stamina for envy, trivial quarrels, or someone who need continual comfort. You deserve to be at ease. Years of labor, anxiety, and sacrifice have been your price. Furthermore, genuine serenity is more valuable than wealth. Major university studies have demonstrated that stress affects older persons' hearts, immune systems, and longevity in addition to their mood. Therefore, you are not only sacrificing your happiness when you accept a relationship that brings stress instead of serenity, but you are also practically shortening your life. What do I really need from a spouse at this point, you ask? Friendship? You can find that in friendships, in community groups, in volunteering. Closeness on a physical level? That's true, but it doesn't call for emotional involvement or cohabitation. Someone to look after you in the event that you become ill? That's not love. That's fear speaking. Love doesn't come through the door of fear. Love either enters freely or doesn't enter at all. Margaret is 69. She was married for 40 years, and while it wasn't bad, it wasn't happy either. She felt bad for being relieved when her husband passed away. But relief was there. She could eat dinner whenever she chose for the first time in 40 years. Her concerts might be viewed without any commentary. She may read late into the night or go to bed early without bothering anyone. Her sister persisted in encouraging her to use dating apps. She would remark, "There are so many nice men out there." But Margaret didn't want a decent man. She liked her mornings quiet. She wanted her evenings gentle. What do I want today? She wanted to ask herself when she woke up, and then she wanted to do it. She enrolled in watercolor classes. She became a member. She goes on trips twice a year with her sister and a cousin, and the three of them spend too much time in hotel rooms laughing. "I'm 69, she stated to me, "and I finally know what it means to be free. Liberty." That's the main topic of our conversation. The unreserved right to make your own decisions. The freedom to declare, "I'm okay as I am." The freedom to realize that your worth is independent of whether or not you are desired, validated, or approved of by others. Society judges success in partnerships. It always has. However, your life is not lived by society. When someone insults you every day, society doesn't understand how tired you are. Society is unaware of your survival, does not carry your memories, or wakes up in your body. You alone are aware of that, and it is up to you to determine what the years ahead will bring. Spend a whole day this week completely on your terms. This is a gentle action step. Get up whenever you'd want. Eat what you want to eat. Take action just because it makes you happy, not because it's amazing or useful, but just because it makes you happy. Take note of how it feels to put yourself first. That sensation? Life may be like that after you cease entertaining other people. Your peace is more important than any relationship after the age of 60. Take a moment to process that. Having someone to eat supper with is not as important as your peace, that silent inner sense of righteousness. Since you are able to sit by yourself, you may take your time eating. Enjoy each bite, light a candle, pour yourself a glass of wine, and feel content. Without peace, friendship is like a cage. Peaceful solitude is a haven. I know the anxiety. Perhaps someone is thinking, "But I don't want to die alone." Many of us have it. We all die alone, but it's the reality that no one likes to discuss. You cross the boundary on your own, even if someone is holding your hand. And whether you lived your last years in peace or compromise, in freedom or silent despair, is more important to the character of your death than who was present. Who's present at the end isn't important. What counts is if you lived life to the fullest, respected yourself, found joy, and allowed yourself to relax. These are what constitute a well-lived life. Thomas is a 71-year-old retired educator. He disregarded everyone's suggestion to find a new partner after becoming a widower. Rather, he began teaching literacy to adults at the library and adopted a puppy named Charlie. He FaceTimes with his dispersed children and grandchildren, prepares extravagant meals for himself on the weekends, and goes for lengthy walks every morning. He shared a wonderful story with me. I realized I was more afraid of being judged for being alone than I was actually afraid of being alone. Once I stopped caring what people thought, everything opened up. I'm not lonely. I'm selective. And there's a big difference. Selective. The word is that. You have the right to choose who you spend your time, energy, and tranquility with after the age of 60. Nobody is in need of your presence. You don't have to accept coffee dates that drain you, partnerships that make you feel like you have to shrink yourself, or relationships that seem like labor. Make a list of the things that truly bring you peace as your second action step. What genuinely calms you now? Not what ought to calm you or what did so 30 years ago. It might be gardening. Silence, perhaps. Perhaps it's preparing bread, listening to jazz music at dusk, or observing birds outside your window. Do more of whatever it is. Keep it safe. Consider it sacrosanct. Since it is. Although it is a myth, the idea that a partnership is necessary to be whole is not new. You were whole at birth. You'll pass away whole. Experience is everything that lies in between. And when you have the courage to stand in your own company without flinching, you can have some of the most rewarding experiences. When you stop avoiding yourself, something significant occurs. Once you're seated in that chair you've been avoiding, switch off the TV, allow the room to be quiet, and simply exist. It may be uncomfortable at first. You may hear ideas that you have been ignoring for years. However, something changes if you remain there and breathe through it. You become aware of things, the flow of light on the floor, the rain's sound, the fact that you are still alive, breathing, and endowed with the ability to wonder. Relationship status does not influence emotional wellness in older persons, according to researchers investigating longevity. Autonomy, purpose, and a sense of ownership over your life are predictors. Those who have partners aren't always the happiest 70-year-olds. They are the ones who believe they are leading genuine lives. Genuineness. Another important word. How recently have you felt totally true to yourself? Just you, without translation, without acting, without adapting, without accommodating. In the event that the response is, I can't remember, something has to change, and that shift could mean putting your needs ahead of the partnership's expectations. Allow me to introduce you to Dorothy. She is 74 years old and resides in a retirement community, not the depressing kind you might think of. Photographs of a life well lived, artwork gathered over decades, and plants abound in her apartment. She has a soup night every Thursday and anyone is welcome to attend, bring bread, and tell stories. She hasn't been in a relationship for 15 years, and she chuckled when I asked if she ever felt lonely. Lonely? I barely have time to think. I have pottery class, my book club, my grandkids visit. I'm learning Spanish on my tablet. If anything, I cherish my alone time because it's when I can just be still. She stopped and said, You know what makes people lonely? Not living the life they actually want. I wanted this life. I chose it. And every morning I wake up grateful. Thank you. The place where dread formerly resided is now filled with that. You cease viewing loneliness as a means of escape when you are thankful for your well-being, independence, and freedom of choice. You begin to perceive it as something to welcome. Your third action step is to list 3 things for which you are thankful each night this week before you go to bed. These things have nothing to do with other people. It might be your cozy bed. It could be that you are still able to walk. The book on your bedside table or the fact that you woke up pain-free this morning could be the cause. Instead of focusing on what you believe you're missing, teach your brain to appreciate the richness that currently exists. You don't have time for relationships that drain you until you're 60. When someone disregards your speed, your tastes, or your history, you lose interest in them. Life is too short to waste arguing for the right to be who you are. The important thing to remember is that a bad relationship is worse for your health than none at all. Your body maintains track of the cortisol, stress hormones, insomnia, and persistent low-level anxiety. Additionally, your body no longer forgives as readily as it once did at this age. Thus, take precautions. Because you are valuable, not because you are weak. Take care of your mornings. Protect your habits. Refuse without feeling guilty. Selfishness is not what this is. It's survival. This is putting life before duty. Henry, 68, used to be an engineer. After his divorce, he briefly dated someone, but it didn't feel right away. She wanted to move in together, sell his house, and combine funds right away. He felt as though he was being erased, hurried, and under pressure. He ended it the following day after having an epiphany one evening when he was sitting in his garage, where he enjoys building wooden furniture. I spent 35 years in a marriage where I never felt seen. Why would I do that again? These days he reads history books late at night, builds furniture, and donates items to young families who cannot afford new things. He also attends his grandson's soccer matches. I thought being alone meant I failed, he stated. Turns out being alone meant I finally succeeded at putting myself first, prioritizing oneself. Since we've been told it's wrong, it sounds radical. You've been socialized to think that taking care of oneself is selfish and that your needs come last, especially if you're a woman. However, that is a fiction meant to keep you small, obedient, and helpful to other people. You are no longer required to be useful after the age of 60. All you need to do is be yourself. Your fourth action step is to find one commitment or connection that drains you. Recognize that you don't have to stop it today. Give it a name. This drains me. Realizing what costs you your tranquility is the first step toward change. Admitting that you're better alone can sometimes be the bravest thing you can do. That is not celebrated in our culture. The 70-year-old who finds happiness in her garden, her books, and her peaceful Tuesday mornings is not the subject of its films. However, that does not diminish its authenticity, worth, or deservingness. I want you to picture yourself in 5 years. You are seated on a cozy chair. A window lets in afternoon light. You're reflecting on this particular moment and your choice to accept your independence because it seems right, or to seek a partnership because you believe you should. Which of your versions is grinning? Which one is calm? Have faith in that picture. People who retain strong social networks, friends, family, and community, live longer, healthier lives, according to aging research. However, take note, romantic relationships are not mentioned. Social networks, it says. You don't have to be in a relationship to have strong, meaningful connections. There are a dozen ways to love and be loved. You cannot compromise your peace. Let me reiterate, I will not compromise my tranquility. Not for company, not for approval, not to evade criticism. If you allow it, your post-60 years can be the most tranquil of your life. But only if you start evaluating your value based on whether you pick yourself rather than whether someone else does. Your fifth action item is to compose a letter to yourself. The self you are today, not the one you believe you ought to be. Give yourself a pat on the back for making it here, for surviving, and for all the silent strength it required. Recognize your value. This is recognition, not arrogance. You are important. You've always done so. And no one else has to prove it for you. You deserve to rest at 60, 70, and 80. You deserve your tranquility. Asking yourself, what do I want today? And then giving yourself that gift is something you have earned. Don't allow anyone tell you that you're incomplete without a partner. Not kids, friends, or society. The only completion you require is yourself. What if love arrives? What if someone enters your life and brings you more joy without asking for your freedom? Who sees you completely but yet offers you space, and who brings you more tranquility rather than less? Then greet them. However, make sure they are adding to your life rather than taking its place. Even if it may be difficult to believe, the fact is straightforward. After the age of 60, your happiness is primarily dependent on your connection with yourself. Develop that, take care of that, keep that safe. The rest is superfluous. Beautiful when appropriate, but never required. You are complete, you are sufficient, and you have the freedom to live the peaceful life you desire. That isn't abandoning love. That's starting with yourself and finally realizing what love is all about. Breathe. Right now, pay attention to your body. Regardless of who is by your side, take note that you are fine at this very moment. That adequacy? It has always existed. It will always remain. And you'll realize something amazing. You never needed saving when you learned to trust it, relax in it, and live from it. You were never lacking something. You were free already, always.